So today I'm going to show you how to do text tracking compositing. It's quite a cool effect within Fusion, which is now integrated into DaVinci Resolve. You can use it on the free version and get some really cool effects. It effectively adds text into live footage that reacts and acts as if it's really physically there, using the camera tracking planar tool. So let's jump into Resolve. I'll show you what it's like, a few examples, and then how to do it really simply. So now we're in DaVinci Resolve 15, and I'm going to show you how to apply text to this clip. I'll just scrub through. And there's a bit more to it, and this one as well. Okay, so back at the beginning. So we've selected the first clip, and we're just going to jump into the Fusion button down here, which is the new feature on DaVinci Resolve for 15. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to click Add Tool, I'm going to go down to Tracking and Planar Tool. I'm going to grab the Planar Tool, drag it down here holding down Shift. It's going to add it to the line. This is where the footage comes in raw, so this is without any effects, and this is where it goes back into DaVinci Resolve with the effects that we've applied to this line. Each node has the arrows in and the arrows out, so the square is the out and the arrows are in. If you're familiar with Resolve, then I'm probably boring you, but it doesn't matter. For those who don't know, hopefully it's helpful. So we're going to go to Add Tool, 3D Node, and we're going to go down to Text 3D. I'm going to drag it over here. I'm going to right click again, Add Tool. I'm going to go to 3D again, and we're going to go to Render 3D. There is actually a quicker way for commonly used ones. So there's 3D text is here, so you can just drag these off here as well. And the renderer one is this one here. You just drag them out. So these are the three nodes we're going to use today to add text to our 3D clip. Sorry, this isn't a 3D clip, this is a real life clip. We're going to add 3D text. So first of all, we're going to connect the output of this text into the renderer by right clicking and dragging over and selecting the input, which is screen input. So DaVinci Resolve has two screens in the Fusion window, so you can look at two nodes at once. So this previews each node. So if I drag this text up to here, this previews my text, and I haven't got any text inserted yet. So I'm going to create some very exciting text. Okay, so that is what it looks like in the 3D node view. The renderer turns it into a 2D text thing, and the planar view is here. So this is where we're going to track the data from the footage so that we can give this information to the text and tell the text where to move so that it looks like it's attached to the wall. Okay, so we're going to click on the planar tracker, and when you first click on it, you have this cross cursor, and with that I'm going to track this bit of the wall. I'm going to jump to the beginning of the timeline first. That's quite important. I'm forgetting always, and I end up halfway through the timeline. It's quite annoying. So just grab an area of wall. Quite a big chunk is probably more helpful, and just select it back, and this creates a box, and this is where we're going to track the data from. I'm going to press set. This kind of tells it that we're about to do some tracking. I'm sure there's a lot more complicated reason for why you have to press that, but it doesn't work if you don't press it, so I press it. And then this is to track forward, so this will run through the timeline, tracking choosing some points here, and then it will track those points throughout the clip and tell the computer where the wall is, basically. So we're going to track forward. The green dots are where there's a good match, and the red dots are where it's lost those tracks for whatever reason. If you lose focus, if your clip is not always in focus, it can lose the detail. Also, if the clip is really dark, it can lose data as well. If it goes out of shot, it can sometimes lose those points as well. So you probably want to scrub through your footage to the place where you want to put the text, and make sure that the area that you want to put the text isn't obscured off screen for completely throughout that particular clip. So it's done the track data. The box is still in the same place, which is a good sign. I'm going to go to the beginning, and yes. So we're going to scrub through and just check. If these were wobbling about, we'd know that the track was bad. But as you can see, the box here looks pretty stable. Sorry, I keep sniffing. Okay, so that's just the track data. What we want to do is we want to change the operation now of the planar tracker down to corner pin, which creates a box, and this is where the text is going to operate out of this box. Okay, so we've made this box. What I've tried to do is keep it very square to the perspective. You can use the lines. Thankfully there's brickwork, so I can kind of roughly work out what is square on this, and this affects the perspective of the text when you mount it on. So we're going to pipe the text into the planar tracker now. So right click on the output box, and we're going to input it into the corner pin 1. Okay, so the text is there. I don't know if you can see it, it's quite obscured because of the color. So now we're going to click on the text node. We're going to drag it up to here so that we're in the actual text node. You can denote which node is being viewed in each window by the little white dot. So these are the two screens. So at the moment the left screen is showing the 3D node, and you can see the white dot on the right window means that it's being viewed in the right window. So we can change the text, we can change the color, we can change the size. I'm going to make this a nice random color. Probably a darker color would probably look better. Dusky brown. Okay, that doesn't look amazing, but if you spend a bit of time you could make it a lot more fancy. We're going to add some animation to this in a moment, but for now I just want to know that the text on the wall looks okay. So as you can see, that's looking pretty good. That's definitely effectively hooked onto the wall perfectly, so that's great. So now what I want to do is I want to grab the text, and I'm just going to show you. So to move this text around, I'm in the 3D view. You have the movement tool, you have the rotate tool, and you have the scale tool. Now the scale at the moment is locked off, so you can't adjust it by just the X or the Y axis or the Z axis. It's a 2D plane anyway, so the Z axis won't do anything. But if you did decide that you wanted to make the text stretch, you have to unlock the that parameter, and then now you can adjust the stretch. Okay, so make your text look nice, and there it is, mounted on the wall. So I'm just going to show you another quick effect. So if you wanted to animate this text within the wall, when we clicked the planar tool, this is actually a boundary box. So if the text goes out of that boundary, it disappears. So this can be quite useful for if you want the text to fly through a door, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to animate it so it looks like it slithers out that line. So I'm going to want the y-axis here. So I'm going to go to the beginning of the timeline, and I'm going to press this, which is a keyframe, apply keyframe. So, and then I'm going to scrub forward to 50 frames. Oh, I've done that wrong. And I'm going to add another keyframe, which is fine. I'm going to go back to the first frame because actually that's not right. I want that to be off frame to begin with, and then at 50 frames I want it to come back down. And then I'm going to go along the timeline to 200. That's where the wall, this is where I want it to start it moving off the screen. So I'm going to press the Y, and I'm going to add a keyframe for it to do nothing. That to remain stationary between 50 and 200, and then at 250 I'm going to move this back up, and it automatically adds another keyframe. I don't know if you can see on the right hand window, you've got a graph editor. It's probably a little bit small on your screen, but you can adjust these. If you're familiar with graph editors in animation, you might find this incredibly useful for adding curves and animations, but for now we're just doing something simple. So here we go. Let's just preview that. So down comes the text, just jump to there, and up goes the text at the end. So great. So jump back into Fusion, and this is where the funky things happen. So you press space and it gets all garbled, and the reason for this is the computer's trying to render the Fusion clip on top of your normal timeline, and it's struggling, and it's trying to cache it, and if you've got a more complex Fusion thing, then it might be worth caching it, but in this instance if you turn it off it's actually faster, which is counterintuitive, but look how smooth that is. You just have to turn the Fusion cache thing off. But if you've got a beast of a computer, then maybe it'll be fine. So I'm just going to whiz through the second clip. So I'm going to make sure the timeline is on it. I'm going to select this clip. And in this one I'm going to show you how to make text that floats in the air rather than is mounted on a flat surface. So I'm going to jump into Fusion again. I'm going to go through the exact same process. I'm going to jump the timeline back to the beginning, and I'm going to right click, add tool, tracking, and planar tool. I'm going to press shift to add it to the timeline. I'm going to put it at the end. Okay, and I'm going to make sure it's selected, and I'm going to draw where I want to track my data. So I'm actually going to include some of the bottom wall here, and I'm going to draw a nice box. And this is telling the computer this is a flat surface, and I want you to track all the points within this box to give me a plane within this to extrapolate a 3D space. So I'm on track, I'm at the beginning of the timeline, I've pressed set, and I'm going to track forward, and the green dots appear. Now it's losing red dots, but it's also adding new ones, new green ones to fill up the gap. So it takes a while to get to the end of the clip. Perfect, and it's still in the same position. It's still following the contours of the feature that I originally selected. So I know that we're not going to have any perspective warping, which is quite irritating. So I'm going to grab the text tool from the fastbar instead, favorites bar. So text and a renderer. text 3D, render 3D, right click, add that to there, screen input. I've already tracked the data, so I'm going to change the operation to corner pin. I'm going to put some text in so I know that it's right, and in this one I'm going to put warning. Ugh, can't even spell. Warning. No. Mind the step. I'm going to change the font to something more interesting. I don't even know what that text is, but we'll find out in a second. I'm going to right click, drag it to here, corner pin. And now that's gone all warped and strange, and the reason for that is we selected a corner thing, but we haven't actually positioned it on there. So what we need to do is we need to make this square. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to line it up with here as well, just so that we're going to use the contours of the wall to try and make this as flat as possible. I want this to follow the baseline of the patio, you know, the little platform. Okay, and I've got to kind of guess really where that vertical point will be in 3D space, but hopefully that's not too bad. So now you can see that the text is there. It's quite a stretched text, so we're going to jump back into the text. We're going to go to the transform. We're going to unlock that, and we're going to on one. I need the X, which is mind the step. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. We're going to grab this and put it into this viewer, and we're going to now position this where we want it. Okay, so I'm going to make this smaller in this dimension as well. I'm going to move it into position so it looks nice. Okay, and the text is white on quite a bright background, so it's not really showing up particularly well. Now I could just change this text to a bright red or something, but in this instance I'm going to try and be clever. So I'm going to add another. No, I'm not going to add another text. I'm going to duplicate this one. So Control C, Control V, and what it does is it automatically adds a merge. Because the render only takes one input, so a merge is effectively what it does. I'm just going to make these square because I am. So there's two texts now. This one I'm going to move back slightly, and I'm going to change the color to black, and I'm going to up the size. No, I'm not. Change that back to 1. I'm going to just move it. Okay, I'm going to go into the transform so I can just move it a very a fraction less. So I've adjusted the shadow now, so it looks okay. And what I'm going to do now is show you how to animate this, because the shadow on the text just makes it pop a little bit. So what we're going to do is this time we're going to animate not the text, but we want these two texts to move together. So we're going to select the merge this time, select the transform drop down, and I'm going to do something interesting with this one. So the boundary box is set to the bottom here, so I can make it pop up, or a completely different effect. I mean, we did the drop up and down out of the boundary on the last clip, so we'll do something different for this one, just to show you a few more things you can do. So what we'll do is we'll go to the merge, and Yes, this might be a bit more complicated than I thought, because I've got two texts now and I was going to do something cool with them. So if we select the first clip, and this feature down here is called write on and off, and what it does is it texts on this. So in fact, just bear with me, I will move this box out the way so you can see it. Put that there for now. Okay, so now you can see the write on box. In fact, I'll just hide this second box for now. That might be an easier way of doing it. Okay, that's better. So I've keyframed. I've jumped to 50, and I've keyframed this as fully written. I'm then going to go back to 0, and I'm going to turn this keyframe thing to 0. What that means is it's going to write the white text. I'm going to do the same to the black text in a moment. I'm going to offset it, so it's going to be interesting. So so we've done 50 and we've done 0, so we're going to scroll forward to 150, and this is the bit where I want the text to then decide to leave us. So at 50 I'm going to add another keyframe, and then I'm going to scroll down to 200, and at 200 I'm going to make it scroll off the other side. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my other text, which is the black text, which is the shadow text, I'll call it. So at this one I want it I'm going to go to 10 frames, and at 10 frames, I'm on the wrong window, where am I? I need this to be on the text one. This, okay, right on. So I'm going to add a keyframe here, and I'm going to adjust it like this, that on the right side back to 0. So and then I'm going to jump forward to 60 frames, which is 10 frames ahead of this one, so it'll be offset by 10 frames. So, and at 60 frames I want this to be fully written as well. Okay, and then last time we went to, I can't remember if it's 100 or 100, is it 150? Yes, it was 150. So I'm going to go to 160, and at 160 I'm going to add another still keyframe, and then I'm going to go to 210, which is 10 frames after the white one ends, and I'm going to make that one follow it as well up to the end. So if we go back to the beginning of the clip now, it should have a really interesting writing on effect. Okay, jump back into the edit mode. I'm going to right click here and check that the render Fusion cache thing is off, because last time it slowed us down, and I'm going to press space, and as you can see it's quite a cool little effect that you can apply within a few minutes. If you found this tutorial helpful, then it makes me very happy, so make sure to drop us a like, or if you want me to make more videos and you want to support that, then hit the subscribe. Okay, see you later.